Okay, so we started off the hour by just reviewing the top 20. For anybody at home, I just strongly recommend that you go and do a top 20 at algebraninja.com, and you can check your answers off the key there before you take the in-class top 20 that we're doing today. So here's a graph. Empty spot here, and then it starts right underneath that with a dot, and then it goes like that. So I ask you, what's the domain and range of this function? Pausing for a second while you contemplate that. So just to make it really clear, this is at like 6, 2, and this is straight underneath it at 6, -2. And there's an empty spot at 6, 2, and a filled in spot at 6, -2. First off, does this pass the vertical line test? So it is a what? It's a function. So what's its domain and its range? I know that empty spot is messing with your head. You'll have to decide whether that's included in your answer or if it's not. Pausing. Okay, domain, all reals. Range, all reals. That's it. Boom, done. Why doesn't that empty spot matter? Well, because imagine for a moment you're talking about the domain. So you're going across this thing and saying, does it work? In like it works forever that way. And then all of a sudden right here, does it work? Yeah, it works. It just works right there. It doesn't work in that empty spot. So it works, meaning it gives me an answer all the way in both directions. Same thing with the range. It works forever downwards because of that. And then it you might think it stops working right there because of this spot, but it actually gives you a y value at y value of, let's say, 2, that was. Then there is an answer. It's just over here. It's not over here. So this one goes forever in both directions. All right, here's one where it doesn't. Let's see if you can handle this. I'm just going to grab an empty spot out of this and go yoink. Now there's no point right there. And it's called a hole. And that's going to be at 6, 4. There's a hole. What's the domain and range now? Pausing. So, do you think the hole matters? It does matter this time. Because as we go from left to right, it would go forever in this direction, but then all of a sudden right there, at that moment, at x is 6, there's nothing. There is no, if you go in forever as the x and 6 direction, it never makes any number. It never makes an output. The input of 6 gives you no output. So therefore, this worked until it hit 6, and then it stopped working, and then it works again. So you'd say from -infinity until 6, union with 6 to infinity. That's the domain. And the range, similar, except the range is y, and so it goes forever in this direction. And then all of a sudden it stops working there and goes forever that way, so it's about the y. So it'd be the same exact thing with a 4 and a 4 for the range. Stops working at 4, continues after 4. Okay, now let's talk increasing, decreasing. Low spot there at 8, 1. What's that low spot called? You can't call it a low spot. Local minimum, very good. How about, let's say this spot right here, which to me looks like 2, 3. That's not the highest of them all, but it's a high spot. What do we call that? Local maximum. Okay. Then, name the 2 intervals over which the function was increasing. There's something with a comma. The intervals over which the function was increasing. There's one interval where it's decreasing. You might as well write that one down too, but because I'm going to ask you that in a second. Okay, did you say it was increasing from -infinity until it hit 2? And then it started increasing again at, remember these are x values, 8 to infinity. Raise your hand if you had those right. Cool. How about the decreasing interval O and B?
Decreasing it just 2 to 8.
2 to 8 is correct. Notice these are all x values. When you're doing increasing and decreasing, you're only doing x values. And you don't worry about parentheses and brackets. You just use parentheses, period. Because otherwise you're arguing about, is it still increasing exactly at that spot? And it's kind of a dumb argument. So just use parentheses. If you used brackets, I wouldn't even mark it wrong, but I think on the Schoology quizzes, we always use parentheses. Same with the book that we use. Okay. How about, does this have an x-intercept? Can you name a couple ways to call an x-intercept? It's where y equals 0. Could I write y equals 0? Sure. Could I write f of x equals 0? Yeah, that's the same thing. At this spot, y equals 0 and f of x equals 0, that's the same thing, right? So when they say that, they're saying, what's the x-intercept? So that's what this is asking. If y equals 0, what's the x-intercept? If f of x equals 0, what's the x-intercept? And then this spot is called the y-intercept. They wouldn't be so nice as to say, give me the y-intercept. They would say x equals 0 would be correct, or f of 0. Do you get how that's kind of saying x is 0? That's two different ways to say the x-intercept. Okay, so if I say x equals 0, I'm asking you for the y-intercept. Or if I say f of 0, that's again asking you for the y-intercept. All right, that's increasing, decreasing, local mins, local maxes. How about absolute max? Does this have an absolute max? No. You could argue that it's infinity, but you'd get it marked wrong. You can't say that infinity is the maximum because it's implying it's a place that you can name and stop right there, and there it is. That's the spot. Okay. Does this one have an absolute maximum? Yes. Does it have an absolute minimum? No. Okay. What's this spot called? Local minimum. Is this also a local maximum? Yes. Because if you're the strongest person in the whole world, you'd definitely be the strongest person in this room. Locally, you'd be the strongest, and in the whole world, you'd be the strongest. You can be both. All right. Okay, I think that's enough review. So now you're ready for a top 20 in class. That's all going to be about being careful. And there's a little time pressure, too. Now, if you've got an IEP or a 504 that says you get extra time, or if we have talked about this before and I have given you permission before, I have a paper version, but that's only if you've got a reason like that, not just because I want to do it on paper. Now, I will give scratch paper to everybody, and it's a Schoology quiz, so have your iPad out. Open up to the folder for today, and you'll see a Schoology quiz in there. You may begin whenever you are ready, and then when you're done with that, it's going to be finished during class because, you know, there's 25 minutes left in class and it's timed. Then you can start your homework, which is a worksheet, and the answer key for that won't be posted until after school. Remember, this is just like a mini review of part of the unit. The actual review is happening on Thursday, and the test will be on Friday of this week. And that's all I got for you for the video for today.